Hello, everybody. It's Whitney Magnuson here with Unity Stamp Company, and I'm super excited to be live today featuring one of our newest arrivals. It is a brand new background by Anne Coberry Scott. I'm going to just show you the packaging here. So this is the background. It is slightly smaller than an A2 because this artwork actually has like a border around it. So here's the stamp. And I absolutely love this. So Anne actually sends us like her art is like sketches scanned in, and then Nick turns it into stamps. And so I love how it still maintains that very just sketch style of art. And this one's really, really fun to play with. I have a lot of backgrounds in my collection that are kind of busier. So if you go through the Unity collection, you'll find tons and tons of backgrounds. They're all 50% off or more right now. But with busier backgrounds, it's kind of hard to figure out how am I going to make a card with this, and like make it work. Because for me, I'm kind of like more clean and simple stuff, and so I need to think of different ways to use that. So I was going to show you guys just some different ways you can use your dies or punches to create a different look with it, rather than just stamping it on an A2 and coloring it up, which you can certainly do. This is just some different ways to use it. So we're going to do a little creation on craft with a foiled sentiment. You're going to love this foiled sentiment. We'll do a little partial coloring because I love that technique. And then we are going to do some oxide blending. We're going to mix this one up, so we're going to get two cards out of this one panel, and I'll show you guys how. Alright, but first, let's start with the basic. We're going to do it on craft. I love watermark stamping. It's just such an easy technique to do where you can kind of get a tone-on-tone look. So for this one, we are going to be having a white A2 card base. This is a piece of craft cardstock in an A2. And then I'm just grabbing two of my nesting dies from our scallop and rectangle nesting die set. And we're going to use this to kind of die cut out those panels, and that's how I popped that up and got that dimension. So here we go. We're going to grab, this is called Pretty Posies Background, again by Anne Coberry Scott. We're going to just go ahead and put our panel inside of here. I don't know what all these little things are. Okay. Put our panel right inside of here on some tape. I already had it kind of positioned, so I know that it's gonna, oh my gosh, are you serious?
Whoa.
You guys, I'm having like a literal Monday today, so just bear with me. We're gonna fix that. So if you smudge your card like I just did, and like I do all the time, just grab a sand eraser. These are from Amazon, and it'll just come right off.
Should probably wash your hands.
I know, I think my thing is a little bit...
Oh, yeah, another one on the bottom.
Stop, babe! Alright. We got it. We got it. Alright, so now we're going to grab our watermark ink. I'm using an ink on 3. I know this thing I use all the time. As you can see, it's like worn out. I'm such a messy crafter. Alright, so using this watermark ink, we're going to get a tone-on-tone effect as it kind of dries and seeps into the paper. So you can do this with any colored cardstock, and you're going to get this effect. So if you have a pretty cardstock, but you don't necessarily have an ink that is maybe a shade or two darker, this is a trick that you can try. And we'll just stamp that down.
I love the border that's added on this background.
Yes, me too. All right, so how pretty is that, you guys? I love the way that this looks. It's just very simple, one pass stamping. So we're gonna grab our heat tool and just speed dry this before we do our die cutting, because this ink is a pretty slow drying ink, and so if you run it through the die cutting machine, it's gonna smudge. So we'll just speed dry this. All right, so I am pretty happy with that. The glossiness went down, and that's how I know it's pretty much dry. So now we're going to take our nesting dies, and again, this one was from our die set, Scallop and Rectangle Nesting Dies. So it does have two other ones that come in the collection that have little mini scallops around it that go with it. Just kind of becoming one of my go-to die sets. I use it pretty much on every single card. I love it. All right, so we're just going to position this first one, and I find it easier with this border to kind of position it up in one corner. Just so I get it like straight. All right, so then this next one, we want it to have a little panel that kind of pops up that we're going to put foam tape on. So I'm going to just kind of position that as centered as I can. It's not going to be, you know, probably 100% perfect, but as perfect as I can get it. All right, so we got this going on. We're going to run it through our die cutting machine, and we're going to get a border and this center. Alright, so this is what we're left with. We're not going to use this little part, that we can toss. And then we have our little border and our center part. So I love that. I love how you can easily make, you know, a different layout with just some simple nesting dies. Alright, so we're going to add a sentiment to this one to really make it pop. So I'm going to be grabbing one of our adhesive transfer sheets. These are an easy way to do no heat foiling. So this is the pack that I'm using, Sentiments 2. We'll have the other one back in stock really soon, but it comes with just 5 by 9 inch little acetate sheets, like so. You get 2 of them in here, and you can foil these amazing sentiments on your cards. So this is how it works. So we're going to use hello. So I'm just going to grab my scissors and cut out the hello. You don't want to cut into the other little stamp or the other little greetings because you won't be able to use them then. So just cut around your sentiment as best as you can. It doesn't have to be like pretty by any means. All right, so now these have a thin backing. So we're going to take that thin backing like so. We're going to peel it off. Don't touch the sentiment because it is an adhesive, and if you touch it, it's going to like go on your finger, and then you won't get a perfect transfer. So just keep that in mind. Then we're just going to set it right where we want it on our panel. You don't need to rub or anything like that. Just leave it like it is. And now we're going to apply pressure. So the way that this works is through pressure. So you do need a die cutting machine for this. You can use a laminator. I don't get very great results with my laminator, so I'm going to recommend just a die cutting machine. So we're just putting it in there. I have 2 little plates we're going to sandwich through, and now we're just going to run it right through, and the pressure is going to leave that adhesive design on there. Alright, so now we have transferred that. We can peel this off, and you're going to see almost like a watermark looking transfer there. You can kind of see it. Maybe Nick can zoom in a little bit. And so we can see that. And now we're going to grab our foil. So I'm going to be using my gold deco foil because I kind of liked the gold with the craft tone on tone. And we're just going to cut a little sheet to cover that. So what you do, you're going to be putting your foil pretty side up, just right on top. You don't need to rub or anything like that. And we're going to put it back in our sandwich.
If you were to rub it, does that can that mess up the design?
Yeah, for sure. It's an adhesive and you need even pressure. So I don't recommend rubbing or anything like that. You're just not going to get a good transfer. So I'm going back in with my sandwich, and I actually bought these little plates specifically for this, and I'm not going to do die cutting or anything on them, just so I don't get any of those marks, you know, from die cutting. So these stay nice for my transfers. So just running it through, applying that pressure. And what's fun is we have so many colors of foils too, and so you can really pick a foil that is going to match every single card you have. All right, let's do that peel and reveal because it's the best part. How awesome is that, you guys? We get a fun foiled hello. And then on this part, we have a negative, so we could use heat foiling and use this with our toner sheets. So if you had a hot lamp, you can use it again. So lots of different ways that you can use these. We have 2 designs, and they are awesome. So that's that. Super easy, right? Who knew foiling was that easy? All right, let's assemble this card. So I have a white A2 card base, and we're just going to adhere this little frame on there flat. And I'm going to use my liquid glue. This is Ultra Bond adhesive. I believe we still have these in our shop at 10% off. So for our birthday sale, we did 10% off of like our crafty supplies, which would be adhesives, you know, embellishments, dyes, Nuvo drops. Great time to stock up and get some of those things you've had your eye on or you've been curious about. All right, so we're just putting our border on there. I like liquid glue because we can just kind of shift it till we're happy to. All right. And now we're going to pop this up with foam tape just to get a little bit of dimension. Get that out of the way. We don't need that anymore. The other gold foil color that I absolutely love that would be really pretty with this is gold shattered glass. Just has a little bit more pattern on the foil, and so when you move it, it catches the light just a little bit differently. I think I used the last of that. And I didn't want to take it from the back because then I'm taking from stock and you guys can't add it to your collection. All right. What did you almost use?
That your clean die cut plates.
Oh yes, my clean die cut plates. Those are, I keep them in the drawer with my foiling stuff too. Just so, because sometimes I get kind of in a mode where I might accidentally use them too, you know, if I'm just die cutting something and they're there. All right, so there it is all popped up now. So we kind of have that little bit of dimension and it does line up a little bit. If you wanted more, you could double stack that that foam tape, but I think this is just a really fun, clean and simple card with that watermark stamping. And I love that foiled sentiment. It really just makes it pop. All right, let's do one more. Well, we have 2 more cards, just kind of some easy ways to use backgrounds. All right, let's do a fun, like, inky background. So I'm using those same dies that we just used here. This is from our scallop and rectangle nesting die set. I'm using the rectangles today. The scallops are really cute. I'll show them to you here. Here's one of them. The scallops are really cute, but I'm just using the rectangles today. So we have that going on. So we're going to do our stamping on this little panel. But first, we're going to do a little bit of ink blending. So I'm going to grab just a couple of inks that I thought looked fun together. So we're going to use our oxides. We're going to use picked raspberry and seedless preserves. And we're going to get 2 cards out of this one panel. All right. I'm going to start with this little panel here, and I like to have just a scrap sheet of paper to hold because on oxides you really do get a lot of like fingerprints if you touch it.
Don says you should put a sticker on your clean plates so that it's easier to recognize not to use them.
Oh, that's a good idea. I do need a sticker, Don. All right, so now we're gonna go in with this color, and I'm just gonna hold it down here because we're gonna overlap them just a little bit so they kind of blend together.
Crystal says these are yummy colors.
They are. I love this color combo together. So easy to get, really awesome, nice coverage with these oxides. It's gonna be a pretty blend. All right, so now I like to kind of go over the top of where they meet and really blend out so we get kind of an ombre effect. If you see that. All right, so we have our ink blending all done. So let's do our stamping. So this panel is quite a bit smaller than the stamp, but we are just going to adhere it right in there and it's going to work out perfectly. I am going to clean off my stamp because we have some watermark ink on there, so we'll just clean that off. Not that it would hurt anything, but I want to do some stamping with water. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take this and like cover so I don't get water on there while I'm spraying my stamp. I'm just going to take a little spray bottle on my stamp, spray that up so it's wet, and we are going to stamp down. It's a fun technique that you can do with oxide inks.
I'm so excited to see this.
All right, so
Ooh.
as it sits, it's going to get brighter. So now what we can do, I'm going to take this, we're going to set that aside. I'm going to grab just a clean panel here. We're going to put this in, and we should get the negative. Let's see if it works out. Yep, we did. It's going to be really light, but I think it'll be really fun and pretty. We could do a little ink blending around the edges or whatever. So we have that. We can die cut that out and get another panel with that. So here's what this is looking like as it sits. It's going to get, more popping out of that page, which I love. It is very fun. All right. So I'm just going to speed dry this just a little bit because we're going to do an embossed sentiment on this one. Perfect. And then on this little buddy that we're getting that second one from, we can just take that same die and position it and die cut that out for another use. There's something later. All right. So here is that negative. So 2 different looks, they're different but fun. All right, so on this one we're gonna do a fun embossed sentiment, and since we just did all that oxide blending, I wanna make sure that my embossing powder isn't gonna stick all over this panel. I did kind of dry it a little bit, but oxides do take a little bit to dry, so just make sure you use your buddy pretty religiously. My little buddy here.
That's a nice buddy.
Yes, thank you. All right, so I have a little hello greeting from a sentiment kit. This is actually $19.99 right now, so it's over 50% off, and I love this one because of the bold greetings. It's one of my go-tos. So I'm grabbing hello from there. And it actually is a smaller version of our sentiments too. So same font and everything, but this is a bigger version, and the stamp version is a little bit smaller. So obviously I really like it if I'm reaching for it over and over. Oh, stay. All right, I'm just using a block, and I'm going to stamp it down in the bottom half here. Perfect. And then we'll emboss in white because I thought it would just really pop and have a nice effect in white. So the embossing powder I'm using is Brutus Monroe Alabaster White. And I'm just going to do across the bottom here.
I miss that guy. I haven't seen him forever.
I know with COVID, it's like we haven't seen him forever at any events or anything. All right, so we're gonna heat emboss this. Ooh, that's pretty. On this other one, the second one we did, you know what would be fun is if we stamped out our hello greeting in one of those oxide colors that we were ink blending with. Let's see. I feel like this color, picked raspberry, would be kind of fun. See what we can do.
Faylene's wondering if we still sell the round grid blocks.
We do. We still have a few round blocks in stock.
She couldn't find them on the website. I'll try to send a link.
Yeah, they'll be under stamping tools, I believe. All right. So then we're just going to take this and I like to just kind of go over after the embossing has dried, and you can use like a dry paper towel or whatever and kind of get that powder off. And we're going to pop this up on a white panel. It's really going to pop nicely on a white panel, I think. And then this one I think would be nice on just like a purple. And even watermark stamping, like this background on that purple cardstock. We won't do it during the live, but I'm just kind of brainstorming what I'm going to do to use that one.
No, it's not on there.
Really? Well, I'll have to look for it. Maybe we're out and I don't know it. Oh, Crystal found it. Thank you, Crystal, for sharing that link. Yeah, those round grid blocks are really nice. I actually had a couple of them up here, and I don't know where they went to. My husband likes to take my stuff.
Oh, no. I have my own blocks.
If in doubt, like he took it. All right. I'm going to pop this up on our white panel that I die cut out. Ooh, I'm loving the water stamping, you guys. I'm going to show you the one that I did with oxide stamping and the water stamping. We'll see what you like better. I just have these white enamel dots in my collection, and I thought they went well with this card, so we're just going to add a couple. So there is the finished effect. I'm going to put this whole thing on a white card base, but here it is stamped out with that seedless preserves over the top, and here it is with just water. And honestly, I love the water effect better. I think that's really, really fun. It's very bright and pretty, so, and easy to do. You could do this water effect with regular dye inks too. It just might not be as vibrant as it would be with oxides. All right, so one more way to use this awesome background stamp with a little die cut piece. All right, so this next one, I am grabbing a white card base that I die cut out with our rectangle and scallops die set. That's the theme of the day. And then this is actually using a die that's currently out of stock. It's going to be back in just a couple of weeks, but it is our Dashes and Frills heart nesting die set. And so if you have that, that's the set I'm using. If you don't have it, it's going to be back in stock shortly. But it was really popular, so... All right, so we're just going to take this and we're going to stamp out our image on there. I'm just going to kind of wipe up the water on here a little bit as best I can. Oopsies. And then I'm just going to take this heart and put it right on that piece of adhesive. And then just grab a black ink. I'm using a hybrid ink today, so this is going to work with watercolors or Copics. And we really only need to ink up the center part, because that's all we're using. Just some partial stamping. I'm going to do it one more time. I want it a little bit darker. Perfect. So there it is, all stamped on there, ready to go. And we're just going to pull this up. And we're going to do just very simple coloring on this. So I'm actually grabbing my Caron brush markers. I usually use these to watercolor with, and I use a water brush to blend them out. But you can also use them just as markers with simple coloring, and so today that's what I'm going to do with them. So if you have Copics or any markers, I think simple coloring works great for this background because it is kind of busier, and so I think simple coloring just really works well. So I'm just going to go in with a pink. We're going to color up all of the florals with our pink. I love the partial coloring techniques too because sometimes I'm just like not in the mood to color like a bajillion things. So this kind of works well for me. All right, just trying to find all of my little floral parts. I'm sure I'll miss some and I'll have to come back and do them, but we'll get them all in the end. Oh, Angie had to go cut her husband's hair. That's funny. During like COVID around here, everything was shut down and my husband needed a haircut so bad, and so he was like, all right, you have to cut my hair. And I was like, no, I could not cut your hair. I don't know anything about that.
I literally didn't care. I'm like, just do it.
He had me watch like one video and I'm like, okay, like I think I got this. So I like go and I grab the shaver and I do one little swipe and I just die laughing. And I mean, I did it and it looked fine, but like my best friend cuts hair and does his hair and she was like, oh my gosh.
It definitely looked like someone's first attempt. But...
Whatever. I did my best. It wasn't the worst haircut you've had.
No, it wasn't the worst. The worst was that time in Florida when I was a kid.
I was gonna say the worst is when you did that, you looked like Sid from Toy Story. Like you buzzed it completely.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was pretty rough too.
Yeah, that was bad.
Really makes you realize how big of ears you have when you get a haircut like that.
I'm sure you don't even have that big of ears. Alright, so I'm just kind of going in with a limey green for all of our leaves. I think I got them all. We'll see. Let's do our centers. Those cute little flowers. And now just the little dots in there I wanted to do. I actually feel, no, I'll do blue. All right, so I'm gonna just do blue on the dots. There's so much detail in this background. It does work really well for these partial cards that I'm doing, like kind of partial stamping. All right, and then I wanted this to like really pop a little bit more. So we're gonna do a little bit of ink blending around the edges. And so I'm grabbing my Gina K Designs Sea Glass ink. And we're just going to blend around the edges with this. Like so. All right. And you just kind of repeat until you're happy with the blend. This is really going to pop on the white cardstock. That's when you'll really see this ink blending. Right now it doesn't look like too much, but... Alright, so see what it's going to look like when we get it on that? It really just kind of makes it pop. I love that. All right, let's stamp out that sentiment on our black cardstock. So I just have a little bitty piece here that we're going to use. I'll grab my embossing buddy. We're just going to go ahead and put that on there. And then I'm going to grab Happy Birthday from our newest sentiment kit, which is Extended Celebration. I love this for birthdays. So it just says Happy Birthday in a little strip. And watermark ink is what I'll use as well. You can use a white ink as well, because we're going to do white embossing, but I just have this out, so that's what we'll do. All right, got that all stamped out. We'll grab our white embossing powder. This is by Brutus Monroe. It's the same one I just used for the previous. Oh my gosh, look what I did, you guys. Redo. That's okay. We caught it. All right, take two. All right, now we can emboss because it's not cut in half. I love embossing sentiments in white on black cardstock. I really just think it pops, especially when we're doing like a clean and simple card like this. The black sentiment really just is emphasized, and I love that. All right, so we're just gonna cut this out. It's pretty easy to just cut this into a strip. It's very straight and boxy. All right, so there that is. We're gonna adhere that flat on top of our heart here using some liquid adhesive, if we can find it. How does a craft room get so messy during like one time creating? I just don't even know how this is possible. Oh, here it is. If I could, I should send you guys like the before the video when everything is like organized. Like I have everything organized. This is for this card, whatever. And then like the aftermath, it is just insane. You guys can relate as crafters, I'm sure. All right, we're gonna put this just on the center of our heart. I love how much that pops on there. And then we're gonna pop this whole heart up on a white die cut panel. And the dies I've been using all during this video is our scallop and rectangle nesting die set. So if you're on the market for an essential nesting die set, you gotta grab this one. I love it so much. It actually has replaced my most used die of all time. I have not used it since we've gotten these.
And that one really needed replacing. It was looking a little rough.
Yeah. All right, we got that on there. Yeah, that's true. As you know, as you rotate between projects too, like you get one idea and you're like, oh, I'm gonna try that. And you know, you still have stuff out from the next, you know, the previous card. It's just a never ending cycle. But I always love it when I, you know, come in, it's a new day at Unity and I clean up the craft room and then kind of get started from scratch. I love that feeling, just it being clean and starting from scratch. I always feel a little bit better with that. Oh yeah, photos of cards. I'm always like, I have a little board that I use and it basically, so it covers up the mess when I'm trying to photograph. It's like on top of like a bunch of inks and scraps and you name it. All right, we're gonna pop this up on our white panel. And that's the finished look. So what I did, I'm not gonna show you because it takes a little bit of time, but on this one, I went ahead and I adhered a bunch of gems on top of some of those little dots, and I'm using just these flat back gems from Pink Fresh Studio just to give it a little bit of sparkle, but I thought Nuvo drops would be really pretty on here as well, just to add a little bit of dimension and sparkle, but I love the way that this turns out with all the gems on it. So let's just, I'm going to show you all the cards that were created during the video so you can go back if you're just coming in and catch the replay. But we did 3 cards with one of our newest backgrounds. Pretty Posies background. I love this. It's by Ann Coberry Scott. And these techniques are going to be great for any of those backgrounds that you might have in your collection or that you have your eye on, because it's over 50% off site-wide on stamps right now, which includes all of our background stamps. So go ahead and check them out, grab your favorites, and try out these kind of fun techniques that you can try with your punches or dies. You don't have to use dies. If you have fun heart punches or oval punches or whatever, that would be great as well. So yeah. And I'm just going to show you that stamp again so you can see like the detail and the size. It's just slightly smaller than an A2 because it has a really pretty hand-drawn border around it. So it works great if you wanted to just stamp it on a sheet of A2 cardstock as well. All right, well, as the birthday deals continue, we have awesome freebies happening. When you spend $45, $65, $75, and $125, you can check those all out at the top of our website. It'll say freebies and a bunch more new arrivals where this came from. And of course, the site-wide deals, 10% off of supplies and over 50% off stamps. We are busy shipping and packing orders in the back, so we're getting these out really quickly, and you can order with confidence. All right, I hope to see you guys again really soon, and thank you so much for hanging out with me on this Monday afternoon. Bye, everybody.